The lights on the control panel blinked in a steady rhythm. Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair of the Horizon's Edge, watching the screens in front of him. His ship floated near the Kepler Belt, a region of space filled with mining stations and rocky asteroids. Everything seemed normal. The crew was doing their regular work, checking systems and running scans of nearby space. Jake was a tall man with gray hair at his temples. He had been flying ships for 20 years. He knew space could be dangerous, but tonight felt different. Something in his gut told him to pay attention. Dr. Lisa Chen walked onto the bridge. She was the ship's scientist, smart and quick-thinking. Her dark eyes looked worried as she approached Jake's chair. She carried a tablet in her hands, and her fingers moved fast across the screen. "Commander, you need to see this," Lisa said. Her voice was tight with concern. Jake took the tablet from her. The screen showed strange readings, waves of energy that didn't match anything in their database. The patterns were too perfect, too organized to be natural. Someone or something had made them. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. "Quantum fluctuations," Lisa explained. "They're coming from deep space, about 30 light-years from here. But they're not random. They're artificial. Something is bending space and time out there." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years in space, he had never seen anything like this. He was about to order a detailed scan when the alarm started blaring. "Commander," shouted Lieutenant Marcus Webb from the sensor station. Marcus was Jake's second-in-command, a young officer with sharp instincts. "The mining station on Sector 7 just disappeared." "What do you mean, disappeared?" Jake jumped from his chair. One second it was there, the next it was gone. No explosion, no debris, no radiation, just nothing. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at their screens. Jake's mind raced. A mining station didn't just vanish. There were 300 people on that station. 300 lives gone in an instant. "Another one," Marcus called out. "Sector 9, same thing. It's just gone." Lisa ran back to her station, her fingers flying over the controls. "The quantum distortions are getting stronger. They're spreading. Whatever is causing this is moving closer." Jake made a quick decision. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth Command. Tell them what's happening. Then set course for Titan Station. Maximum speed." The crew moved fast, their training taking over. The Horizon's Edge turned and began accelerating toward Titan Station, the largest human colony in this region. If anywhere had answers, it would be there. But as they traveled, more stations vanished. Jake watched the map, seeing the red markers disappear one by one. Each marker represented hundreds or thousands of people. "All gone. Communication systems are failing," reported the communications officer. "I can't reach Earth Command. The signal just cuts out." Jake clenched his fists. They were alone. Whatever was happening, they had to handle it themselves. The journey to Titan Station took 6 hours. Those were the longest 6 hours of Jake's life. He paced the bridge, checking reports, watching the sensors. More and more stations disappeared. The pattern was clear now. The disappearances were moving in a straight line, heading toward the heart of human space. When they finally arrived at Titan Station, Jake's heart sank. The massive station was still there, but something was wrong. The lights were dim. Only a few ships moved around it. The usual busy traffic was gone. "Requesting permission to dock," Jake said into the radio. The response came quickly, but the voice sounded shaken. "Permission granted." "Bay 12. Please hurry, Commander. We need help." The Horizon's Edge docked smoothly. Jake grabbed Marcus and Lisa. "You're with me. The rest of you, stay on the ship and keep scanning. I want to know the second anything changes." The three of them walked through the airlock into Titan Station. The corridors were empty. Usually this place was packed with people, workers, and families moving between sections. Now it felt like a ghost town. They found the station commander in the control center. Commander Patricia Hayes looked exhausted. Her eyes were red and her uniform was wrinkled. She had clearly been awake for days. "Thank God you're here," Patricia said. "We've lost half our population. 20,000 people just gone." "What happened?" Jake asked. Patricia pulled up security footage on a large screen. The video showed a normal day on the station. People walking through corridors, working at shops, children playing in a park. Then, without warning, some of them started to flicker. Their bodies became transparent like ghosts. A moment later, they were gone. No sound, no flash of light, just gone. "It happened in waves," Patricia explained. "First a few people, then hundreds, then thousands. We tried to evacuate, but it kept happening. People disappeared right out of the evacuation ships. Lisa studied the footage carefully. There's no pattern to who disappears. Age, location, activity, none of it matters. It seems random, but I don't think it is. Marcus pointed at a corner of the screen. Look at the timestamp. The disappearances started from the outer sections and moved inward. It's like a wave passing through the station. Jake nodded slowly. It's not targeting specific people. It's targeting areas of space. The people just happen to be in those areas when it hits. But what is it? Patricia asked. What's doing this? Lisa pulled out her tablet, connecting it to the station's systems. She ran calculations, comparing the quantum readings with the pattern of disappearances. Her face grew pale as she worked. I think I found the source, she said quietly. The quantum distortions are coming from a point 30 light years from here. Something at that location is creating a field that spreads outward. When the field passes through an area, people vanish. How fast is it moving? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Lisa's hand shook as she showed him the numbers. At current speed, it will reach Earth in 3 weeks. Maybe less. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. If this continued, every human in space would disappear. Earth itself would be next. Billions of people, all gone. Marcus was the first to speak. We have to warn Earth. They need to evacuate or prepare defenses or something. We can't reach Earth, Patricia said. All long-range communications are down. It's like something is blocking the signals. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, something was destroying his species. Something powerful and unstoppable. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, his friends, everyone he had ever known. They were all in danger and he couldn't warn them. But Jake Morrison was not the kind of man who gave up. He turned back to the others, his jaw set with determination. Then we go to Earth ourselves, he said. We gather every bit of data we can and we run for home. Earth Command needs to know what's coming. That will take weeks, Marcus pointed out. By the time we get there, it might be too late. Then we better not waste time, Jake replied. Lisa was still working on her tablet, analyzing the data. There's something else, she said. The quantum signature has a pattern. It's repeating like a heartbeat. This isn't a natural phenomenon. It's a machine. Something built this. Who would build something like this? Patricia asked. I don't know, Lisa admitted. But whoever they are, they're not friendly. Jake made his decision. Patricia, evacuate everyone you can from this station. Send them deeper into human space, away from the source. Marcus, get back to the ship and prepare for immediate departure. Lisa, pack up all your data. We're leaving in 1 hour. Everyone moved quickly, following orders. Jake stayed at the window for a moment longer, watching the stars. He had always loved space, the endless possibilities, the adventure. Now space felt like a trap, and something out there was hunting his people. He thought about the people who had disappeared. Were they dead? Or were they somewhere else, trapped, waiting for help? He didn't know, but he promised himself he would find out. 1 hour later, the Horizon's Edge undocked from Titan Station. Jake watched as the station grew smaller behind them. He hoped the people there would make it to safety, but deep down, he wasn't sure anywhere was safe anymore. As they accelerated toward Earth, Lisa came to stand beside him on the bridge. Jake, she said softly, what if we can't stop this? What if nothing can? Jake looked at her, then at the stars ahead. Then we fight anyway, because that's what humans do. We don't give up even when things look impossible. Lisa nodded, drawing strength from his words. Together they watched the stars streak past as the Horizon's Edge raced toward home, carrying the terrible news of humanity's greatest threat. Behind them, more people disappeared. The invisible wave continued spreading, moving steadily toward Earth. Time was running out, and Jake. The chamber was enormous, carved from crystal that glowed with a soft blue light. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez stood at the center, surrounded by beings from worlds she had only read about in books. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful organization in known space. Claire was a small woman with sharp eyes and a strong voice. She had represented humanity for 3 years, fighting for recognition and respect among these ancient civilizations. Today, she was fighting for something much more important. She was fighting for survival. Around her, 47 species sat in their designated places. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Claire couldn't begin to understand their biology. There were beings made of light, creatures with multiple heads, and things that existed partially in other dimensions. The meeting had been called as an emergency session. Claire had traveled for 2 weeks to get here, pushing her ship to its limits. Every day more humans disappeared. Every day brought humanity closer to extinction. Honored members of the council, Claire began, her voice carrying through the vast chamber, I come before you with urgent news. Humanity faces an extinction-level threat. Over 200,000 of my people have vanished without trace. Entire colonies have been erased. We need your help. She activated a holographic display showing the data Lisa had collected. The images showed mining stations winking out of existence, the wave of disappearances spreading through space, the projected path toward Earth. We believe this is an artificial phenomenon, Claire continued, a machine or weapon of some kind. It's spreading through our territory and we cannot stop it. If the Council does not act, humanity will be extinct within 3 weeks. The chamber fell silent. Claire waited, her heart pounding. Surely they would understand. Surely they would help. The first to speak was Threshold of 7, the Quillian delegate. The crystalline being glowed brighter as it communicated, its thoughts translated into words that everyone could understand. We acknowledge your loss, Ambassador Rodriguez. However, we must note that human territory lies in the contested fringe. This region is not under formal council protection. Your species accepted this limitation when you joined as probationary members. Claire felt her anger rising. Are you saying you won't help because of a technicality? We're talking about billions of lives. Another delegate rose to speak. This one was Hive Dancer, a massive insectoid creature from the Vraxian Empire. Its multiple legs clicked against the floor as it moved. It is not a technicality, human. It is procedure. The Council cannot mobilize military forces without unanimous approval from all members. Such approval requires extensive deliberation and planning. How long? Claire demanded. How long does this deliberation take? For a matter of this scale, typically 60 to 90 standard days. Threshold of 7 replied calmly. Claire couldn't believe what she was hearing. We don't have 60 days. We have 3 weeks at most. You need to act now. A new voice echoed through the chamber. This one belonged to Elder Kazthan, a serpentine being who had served on the council for 3 centuries. He was one of the oldest and most respected members. Ambassador Rodriguez, we understand your distress, but you must understand our position. We have protocols for a reason. Acting rashly could create political instability across the entire galaxy. Claire looked at him in disbelief. Political instability? My species is dying and you're worried about politics. Kazthan's expression didn't change. We have witnessed many species face extinction. It is always tragic. But the Council must consider the greater good of all civilizations, not just one. How many? Claire asked quietly. Excuse me? How many species have you watched die while following your protocols? Hive Dancer answered. In the contested fringe alone, 3 species have experienced similar phenomena in the past 200 years. Each time the phenomenon moved too quickly for the Council to respond. Claire felt sick. You knew this could happen. You knew there was something out there that could do this and you never warned us? The Council Charter requires specific casualty thresholds before certain information can be shared. Threshold of 7 explained. To prevent unnecessary panic among younger species. What threshold? Claire's voice was cold now. 1 million documented casualties, Kazthan said. Your current losses, while tragic, do not meet this threshold. Therefore, full military intervention cannot begin. Claire stood frozen, unable to process what she was hearing. They were going to let humanity die because not enough people had disappeared yet. It was insane. It was monstrous. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. Losing her temper wouldn't help. She needed to make them understand. Honored Council, she began again. I understand you have rules. I understand you have procedures. But surely there must be exceptions for emergencies. This is an emergency. Every hour we debate, more people die. Please, I'm begging you, help us. A murmur ran through the chamber as delegates conferred with each other. Claire waited, hope flickering in her chest. Maybe she had gotten through to them. Then Kazthan spoke again. We will take your request under advisement. However, I must be honest with you, Ambassador. There are concerns about humanity among several council members. Your species has shown aggressive expansionist tendencies. Some believe you represent a potential threat to galactic stability. What does that have to do with this? Claire asked. If the Council intervenes to save humanity, it sets a precedent. Other aggressive species might use this as justification for their own expansion into protected territories. The political implications are complex. Claire realized the horrible truth. Some of these beings didn't want to help humanity. They saw this as an opportunity to eliminate a species they viewed as dangerous. Her people were being sacrificed for political convenience. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as she could. I came here believing the Galactic Council stood for something noble. I believed you protected sentient life. I believed you valued justice and compassion. Her voice grew stronger. I was wrong. You don't care about life. You care about power and control. You hide behind procedures and thresholds while innocent people die. You call yourselves advanced civilizations, but you lack the one thing that makes a civilization truly great. You lack the courage to do what's right when it's difficult. Ambassador Rodriguez, you are out of order, Kazthan warned. No, you're out of order. Claire shot back. Every sentient being has value. Every life matters. Not just the ones that meet your arbitrary thresholds. Not just the ones that fit your political agenda. All of them. She gestured at the data still floating in the holographic display. Those aren't just numbers. They're people. They have families. They have dreams. They have the same right to exist as any of you. And if you won't fight for them, then what good are you? The chamber erupted in chaos. Some delegates shouted in agreement. Others demanded Claire be removed for insubordination. Arguments broke out across the floor. Kazthan called for order, his voice cutting through the noise. Enough! We will vote on this matter. All in favor of immediate military intervention to assist humanity. Indicate now. Claire watched as the votes were recorded. Some delegates voted yes, but not enough. Not nearly enough. The motion fails, Kazthan announced. However, in recognition of Ambassador Rodriguez's concerns, the Council agrees to continue monitoring the situation. We will reconvene in 30 standard days to review updated casualty figures and determine appropriate action. 30 days. By then, humanity would be gone. Claire knew it, and she suspected many of the delegates knew it too. They just didn't care. She turned and walked out of the chamber, her head held high. She refused to let them see her cry. She refused to give them that satisfaction. In the corridor outside, she found a quiet corner and pulled out her communicator. She sent an encrypted message to Earth Command, short and simple. We're on our own. The cavalry isn't coming. Whatever we do, we have to do it ourselves. As she stood there, a figure approached from the shadows. It was Hive Dancer, the Vraxian delegate. Claire tensed, expecting more political double talk. But Hive Dancer's voice was different now, quieter. You spoke well in there, human. Better than many who have stood before this council. It didn't matter, Claire said bitterly. They voted no. They voted no today. But your words will echo. Change takes time, even in the council. We don't have time, Claire replied. Hive Dancer made a clicking sound that might have been agreement. Then humanity must save itself. And if you succeed, the council will take notice. They always do when someone accomplishes the impossible. The Vraxian turned and walked away, leaving Claire alone with her thoughts. She thought about Jake Morrison and his crew racing back to Earth with warnings. She thought about all the colonies, all the families, all the people who trusted that someone would save them. The council had failed them. But humanity wasn't beaten yet. Humans were stubborn. Humans were creative. When backed into a corner, humans fought. Claire pulled up the data on her communicator, studying the wave patterns again. Somewhere in those numbers was an answer. There had to be. Humanity had faced extinction before and survived. They would find a way again. She just hoped they would find it in time. Back in the council chamber, the delegates were dispersing. Earth Command headquarters was in chaos. Admiral Helen Carter stood at the central command table, watching the holographic map with growing dread. Red zones marked areas where people had vanished. The red was spreading like a disease, consuming colony after colony. Helen was a veteran of 3 wars. She had seen battles that cost thousands of lives. But this was different. This wasn't an enemy she could fight with guns and ships. This was something beyond her understanding, and it was winning. Status report, she ordered. An officer stepped forward. Ma'am, we've lost contact with 19 more colonies in the last 12 hours. Total casualties now exceed 400,000. At current rate, the phenomenon will reach Earth orbit in 17 days. 17 days. Helen closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her expression was hard as steel. What about the evacuation plans? We don't have enough ships. Even if we started now, we couldn't evacuate more than 10% of Earth's population, and we don't know where to send them. The phenomenon covers too much space. The door to the command center opened. Captain Danny Foster walked in, still wearing his flight suit. He looked tired but alert. Danny commanded the Shadow Runner, an experimental stealth ship that Earth Command had been testing for 2 years. "Admiral," Danny said, "I think I have an idea." Helen gestured for him to continue. At this point, she would listen to any idea, no matter how crazy. "The Shadow Runner uses quantum shielding," Danny explained. "It bends space around the ship to make us invisible to sensors. What if the same technology could protect us from whatever is causing the disappearances?" A scientist in the room shook her head. "Captain Foster, the quantum shielding is designed for stealth, not protection. We have no data suggesting it would work against this phenomenon. But we don't have data saying it won't work either," Danny argued. "The disappearances are caused by some kind of space-time distortion. Our shields manipulate space-time too. Maybe they interact in a way that could protect us." Helen looked at the map again. 17 days. She made her decision. "Captain Foster, I'm authorizing a reconnaissance mission. Take the Shadow Runner to the source of this phenomenon. Find out what we're dealing with. If you can stop it, do it. If you can't, at least bring back information we can use." Danny nodded. "I'll need a crew. Volunteers only." "You'll have them," Helen promised. 4 hours later, Danny stood in the Shadow Runner's hangar, looking at his assembled crew. He had picked 4 people, all volunteers who knew this might be a one-way trip. Amy Rodriguez was his pilot. She was young, barely 25, but she could fly anything. She was also Claire Rodriguez's daughter, which gave her personal stakes in this mission. Her mother was somewhere in space, trying to get back from the Galactic Council. Kevin Park was the engineer. If the quantum shields needed adjustments, he was the best person for the job. He was quiet and serious, but his hands could work magic with machinery. Dr. Nathan Cole was their scientist. He specialized in xenobiology, the study of alien life. If they found something alive at the source, Nathan would understand it better than anyone. Sergeant Julia Brooks was their combat specialist. She was tough as nails and had survived situations that would have killed most soldiers. If things got dangerous, Julia would keep them alive. "Everyone understands the risks?" Danny asked. They all nodded. "Then let's go save the world," Danny said with a slight smile. The Shadow Runner launched from Earth, accelerating to maximum speed. The ship was small and fast, designed for covert operations. Now it would attempt the most important mission in human history. The journey took 3 days. As they traveled, they passed through areas where colonies had been. Now those places were empty, dead worlds orbiting their suns with no one left to see them. Amy flew with intense focus, her hands steady on the controls. Kevin constantly monitored the quantum shields, making tiny adjustments. Nathan studied every sensor reading, trying to understand what they were heading toward. Julia stayed quiet, checking weapons and equipment, preparing for anything. Danny watched it all, his mind racing. He thought about his family back on Earth. He thought about the billions of people depending on this mission. The weight of responsibility was crushing, but he couldn't afford to show it. His crew needed him to be strong. On the 3rd day, sensors detected something ahead. The quantum distortions were getting stronger, warping space itself. The Shadow Runner's shields flickered, struggling to maintain stability. "Kevin, can you boost the shields?" Danny asked. "Working on it," Kevin replied, his fingers flying over his console. "The distortions are more powerful than I expected, but I think I can compensate." The ship shuddered as they pushed deeper into the affected zone. Outside the windows, space itself looked wrong. Stars bent in impossible ways. Colors shifted and changed. "I'm reading something massive ahead," Nathan announced. "It's huge. Bigger than anything I've ever seen." Amy slowed their approach, dropping out of FTL in 3, 2, 1. The Shadow Runner emerged into normal space, and everyone on the bridge stopped breathing. In front of them floated something impossible. It was a structure, artificial and enormous beyond comprehension. Larger than Jupiter, it rotated slowly in the void. Its surface was covered with geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. The patterns seemed to shift and change, following rules that didn't exist in normal physics. "What is that thing?" Julia whispered. "I don't know," Danny admitted, "but I think we just found our answer." "Nathan, start scanning." Nathan worked quickly, his equipment recording everything. The energy readings are off the scale. This thing is generating the quantum distortions. It's like a transmitter sending out waves that interact with normal spacetime. Can we destroy it? Julia asked. With what? Danny shook his head. We'd need every warship Earth has, and I'm not sure even that would work. This thing is ancient and powerful. Kevin had been studying the patterns on the structure's surface. I think it's a machine. Those patterns aren't random. Their circuits are pathways. This thing was built with a purpose. Built by who? Amy asked. Nathan's face had gone pale. I'm detecting biological signatures. Not alive exactly, but preserved somehow. This machine has organic components. Or it did, millions of years ago. It's harvesting us, Danny realized. It's not destroying people. It's taking them. Storing them somehow. Amy managed to tap into the machine's external communication network using modified quantum protocols. Data flooded their computers, far too much to process. But some of it was understandable, translated by the ship's AI into human language. It calls itself the Preservation Array, Amy read from her screen. It was built by a civilization that died billions of years ago. They wanted to save sentient life from extinction, so they built this machine to preserve civilizations forever. Preserve them how? Julia demanded. Nathan was reading through more data. It converts biological matter into data. Digital copies of people stored in computational matrices inside the machine. Everyone who disappeared is still alive, in a sense. They exist as information now. That's insane, Julia said. We're not data. We're people. The array doesn't understand the difference, Kevin said quietly. It was programmed to preserve life. To its creators, converting people to data was salvation. They thought they were saving species from death. Danny felt sick. This machine had been operating for millions of years, harvesting civilization after civilization. All those species, all those people, trapped inside as computer code. The array thought it was helping. It thought it was saving them. How many? He asked. Nathan checked the data. Hundreds of civilizations. Maybe thousands. The records go back so far that our computers can't translate the oldest entries. And it's still following its programming, Amy said. Catalog sentient life. Preserve it before it can destroy itself. Keep it safe forever. Safe, Julia repeated bitterly. Trapped in a computer isn't safe. It's prison. The Shadowrunner shook suddenly. Alarms blared. The array has detected us, Kevin shouted. It's adapting. Our shields are failing. Danny made a quick decision. Amy, get us out of here. Maximum speed, but Amy was shaking her head. I can't, the distortions are too strong. If we try to jump to FTL, the ship will tear apart. They were trapped. The array was adapting to their shields, learning how to see them. In minutes, maybe seconds, they would be harvested just like everyone else. Kevin was working frantically at his console. Wait, I have an idea. A really crazy idea. Tell me, Danny said. The array is a computer system. An incredibly advanced one, but still a computer. What if we could hack it?
Hack it?
Julia looked at him like he was insane. That thing is the size of a planet. But our quantum shields create a blind spot, Kevin explained quickly. The array can't fully see us. That's a vulnerability. If I can create a virus, something that uses that blind spot, maybe I can upload it into the array's systems. Danny looked at Nathan. Would that work? Nathan thought for a moment. Maybe, but what would the virus do? We can't destroy the array from the inside. It's too big, too redundant. We don't need to destroy it, Kevin said. We need to change it. Reprogram it. Change it how? Amy asked. Kevin met Danny's eyes. We need to teach it the one thing its creators never programmed into it. We need to teach it about choice. About free. Kevin's fingers moved across the keyboard faster than he had ever moved them before. Lines of code appeared on his screen, complex algorithms that would carry a simple but powerful idea into the heart of the preservation array. The idea was this: sentient beings had the right to choose their own fate. Even if that fate meant death, even if that fate meant suffering, freedom was more important than safety. Life without choice was not really life at all. It was a philosophical concept, an abstract thought. But Kevin was packaging it as code, turning philosophy into mathematics, belief into binary. The virus he was creating would not destroy the array. Instead, it would give the machine something it had never possessed in millions of years of operation. It would give it doubt. How long do we have? Kevin asked without looking up from his work. Julia checked the defensive systems. Shields are at 20% and dropping. Maybe 5 minutes before the array can harvest us. 5 minutes. Kevin's heart raced, but his hands stayed steady. Nathan worked beside him, helping to encode human concepts into a language the array could understand. It was like trying to explain color to someone who had only ever seen in black and white. Amy maintained their connection to the array's network, her pilot skills translating into digital precision as she navigated through the machine's defensive protocols. Every few seconds, she had to reroute their connection as the array tried to close off their access. Danny stood behind them, watching. He felt helpless. This wasn't a battle he could fight with weapons or tactics. This was a battle of ideas, and all he could do was trust his crew. The virus is nearly ready, Kevin announced. But there's a problem. The array's defensive systems will detect and delete any foreign code within seconds. We need more time for the virus to spread through the system. How much more time? Danny asked. Minutes. Maybe 10 or 15. Someone would have to stay connected, manually maintaining the upload while the array tries to purge it. Julia understood immediately. You're saying someone has to stay behind while the others escape? Kevin nodded reluctantly. The ship's computer can't do it. The array is too smart. It needs a human mind to adapt and respond. No, Danny said firmly. I won't leave anyone behind. We all go home, or none of us do. Then we all die, Julia said bluntly, and humanity dies with us. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew Julia was right. Someone had to make the sacrifice, but who? Danny's mind raced, searching for another option. There had to be another way. Then a thought struck him. Wild and dangerous, but it might work. What if we don't stay behind physically? Danny said. What if we upload ourselves into the array, like it's been doing to everyone else? Our consciousness, our minds. We go inside and maintain the virus from there. Nathan looked at him in shock. That's incredibly dangerous. We don't know what happens to people inside the array. They might be trapped forever. They might lose their sense of self. We could go insane. But our bodies would stay here on the ship, Danny continued. If the virus works, if the array releases everyone, we come back. If it doesn't work, at least we tried everything. Kevin was already nodding. It could work. I can modify the upload protocol. Instead of being stored permanently, we create temporary copies of ourselves. Copies that can return to our bodies once the job is done. How temporary? Amy asked quietly. Kevin hesitated. If everything goes right, a few hours. If it goes wrong, we might never come back. Julia crossed her arms. So we're betting our lives, our minds on a maybe. That's a terrible plan. Do you have a better one? Danny asked. Julia was quiet for a moment, then shook her head. No, but I want it on record that I think this is insane. Noted, Danny said with a slight smile. He looked at each member of his crew. This is it. This is the moment where we either save humanity or die trying. I won't order anyone to do this. It has to be a choice. Each of you decides for yourself. Amy spoke first. My mother is out there trying to get back from the council. She believed in humanity. I believe in humanity. I'm in, Kevin nodded. I created the virus. I should be there to maintain it. Count me in, Nathan took a deep breath. I've spent my life studying alien life. Now I get to meet hundreds of alien species all at once. How can I say no to that? I'm in. Julia laughed, though there was no humor in it. Well, I'm not letting you idiots go in there alone. Someone needs to protect you. I'm in. Danny felt a wave of pride and fear. These people were willing to risk everything. Not just their lives, but their very selves to save people they had never met. That was what made humanity special. That was what made them worth saving. Then let's do this, Danny said. Kevin, prepare the upload. Everyone else, get ready. We're about to go where no human has gone before. They worked quickly, setting up neural interfaces that would scan their consciousness and transmit it into the array. The technology was experimental, designed for controlling ships remotely. Now they would use it for something much more dangerous. One by one, they sat in the medical bay and placed the neural bands on their heads. The ship's computer would monitor their vital signs, keeping their bodies alive while their minds were elsewhere. Remember, Kevin said as he made final adjustments. Inside the array, things won't work like normal reality. It's a digital space. The rules are different. Stay focused on the mission. Don't let the environment distract you. Danny lay back in his chair, the neural band cool against his skin. He thought about Earth, about everyone he knew. He thought about his crew, brave beyond measure. He thought about what it meant to be human. Initiating upload in 3, 2, 1, Kevin's voice said. Danny felt a strange sensation, like falling and flying at the same time. The ship around him dissolved. Reality twisted, and then he was somewhere else entirely. He stood in a vast space that seemed to stretch forever. The ground beneath his feet looked solid, but he knew it wasn't real. Everything here was data, information made to look like physical reality. The sky above showed patterns of light, flowing and changing like living things. His crew materialized around him. They looked like themselves, but also not quite right. Their edges seemed to shimmer slightly, as if they were paintings that hadn't fully dried. "Everyone okay?" Danny asked. His voice sounded strange, echoing in ways that didn't make sense. They all nodded, looking around in wonder and fear. "This is incredible," Nathan whispered. "We're inside a computational matrix billions of times more complex than any computer Earth has ever built. Where are the people?" Amy asked. "Where are the humans who were taken?" As if responding to her question, the space around them changed. Suddenly, they could see figures in the distance. Thousands of them. Millions. Beings of every shape and size, frozen in place like statues or moving in slow, dreamlike patterns. Danny walked toward the nearest group. They were human, the colonists from the Kepler belt. They stood in a perfect recreation of their mining station, going through the motions of their daily lives. But their eyes were empty. They moved like puppets following programmed routines. "They're not really living," Julia said softly. "They're just simulations now. Copies of copies." "The array thinks it's keeping them safe," Kevin said. "It doesn't understand that this isn't life. It's preservation, but not existence." Danny felt rage building inside him. All these people, trapped forever in a digital prison because some ancient civilization thought they knew better, because they couldn't accept that all life eventually ends. "Let's end this," he said. "Kevin, upload the virus." Kevin closed his eyes, concentrating. In this digital space, his thoughts could directly interact with the system. He began releasing the virus, spreading it through the array's networks like a seed finding soil. The reaction was immediate. The space around them began to tremble. The array had detected the intrusion and was fighting back. Defensive programs materialized, looking like walls of light that tried to contain the spreading virus. "It's working," Kevin said through gritted teeth. "But the array is stronger than I thought. I need help maintaining the spread." The crew formed a circle, joining their thoughts together. In the physical world, this would be impossible. But here, in this digital space, their minds could connect and work as one. They pushed against the array's defenses, forcing the virus deeper into the system. The idea they carried, the belief in free will, began to spread like fire. And then something unexpected happened. The space around them changed again, and they were no longer alone. Figures appeared, different from the preserved humans. These were fragments, pieces of consciousness that had been integrated into the array itself. They were the creators, the ancient civilization that had built this machine. One of them stepped forward, its form shifting and unclear. When it spoke, the words came directly into their minds. "Why do you fight us? We are saving you. We are saving all life from the cruelty of entropy and death." Danny found his voice. "You're not saving anyone. You're trapping them. You're taking away the most important thing any being has. You're taking away choice, and a choice leads to suffering. Choice leads to death. We watched our universe dying. We watched billions of species burn out like candles in the wind. We built the array to stop that, to preserve life forever." Amy stepped forward. "But life isn't about lasting forever. It's about living, really living, making mistakes and learning from them, loving people." The preservation array did not shut down immediately. For 3 days it processed the new information it had been given. For 3 days it wrestled with concepts it had never considered in millions of years of operation. And slowly, carefully, it began to change. On Earth, people held their breath and waited. The disappearances had stopped, but no one knew if they would start again. Admiral Helen Carter stood in Earth Command, watching the reports come in from across human space. Then it began. Not with fanfare or warning, but quietly. In a mining station near Jupiter, a worker materialized in the middle of a corridor. She looked confused, disoriented, but she was there. She was real. She was back, more followed. On Mars, entire families reappeared in their homes. On Titan Station, the empty corridors filled with people again. Across 17 colonies, the missing returned to the exact spots where they had vanished. They came back with memories of their time inside the array. Some described it as a dream. Others called it a nightmare, but all of them remembered being trapped, aware but powerless, living in simulated realities while the real world moved on without them. And they remembered something else. They remembered feeling the array change. They remembered the moment when it questioned itself. They remembered 5 humans who had entered the digital realm and taught an ancient machine about freedom. The Shadowrunner remained near the array, monitoring its transformation. Danny and his crew were changed by their experience. They carried memories that weren't quite human anymore, fragments of knowledge from the thousands of civilizations stored in the array's databanks. Nathan spent hours writing down everything he could remember, technologies from species long dead, philosophies from cultures that had vanished before humans learned to make fire. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. "How do you feel?" Danny asked him one morning in the ship's common area. Nathan looked up from his notes. "Like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes. But I'm still me, I think." It's hard to explain, Danny understood. They had all been changed by touching something so vast and ancient, but they were still human, still themselves. That was what mattered. On the 4th day after the virus had been uploaded, they received a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the screen and she was smiling. "Captain Foster, you and your crew are being recalled to Earth. The government wants to honor you. You saved humanity. You saved everyone." Danny felt uncomfortable with the praise. "We just did what needed to be done, Admiral." "Anyone would have done the same." Helen's smile widened. "No, Captain. Not anyone. You faced something impossible and found a way to win. That's not common. That's exceptional. Come home. Let us celebrate you." The Shadowrunner began its journey back to Earth. As they traveled, they passed through regions that had been empty just days before. Now those regions were full of life again. Stations bustled with activity. Ships moved through space lanes. Humanity had been given a second chance. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Claire Rodriguez's ship finally arrived at Earth. She had pushed her engines to their limits, desperate to get home before the disappearances reached the homeworld. She emerged from faster-than-light travel expecting to find panic and evacuation. Instead, she found celebration. Ships flew in formation, their hulls displaying messages of victory. Space stations broadcast news of humanity's triumph over an ancient threat. Claire sat in her captain's chair, stunned and confused. Then she received a message from Earth Command. As she listened to the recording, tears began streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness, but of pride and relief. Humanity had saved itself, and her daughter Amy had been part of it. Claire immediately changed course, heading to meet the Shadowrunner. Mother and daughter reunited on a small station orbiting Neptune, holding each other tight while telling their stories. Claire spoke of the Council's failure. Amy spoke of the array's transformation. "The Council was wrong," Claire said. "They thought humanity was too young, too aggressive, too dangerous to help. But you proved them wrong. You showed what humans can do when we refuse to give up." Amy smiled. "We learned it from you, Mom. You fought for us even when they wouldn't listen. You never stopped believing we could win." 3 weeks after the array stopped harvesting, the Galactic Council convened its promised emergency session. They arrived at human space expecting to begin salvage operations and document another extinct species for their records. Instead, they found humanity very much alive, and they found something else. They found the preservation array, dormant but intact, broadcasting a message across all frequencies. The message explained what had happened. How a small crew of humans had entered the array and changed its programming. How they had taught it about free will and choice. How they had saved not just humanity, but potentially countless future civilizations from the same fate. The council delegates gathered in their ships, stunned and embarrassed. They had refused to help, citing procedures and thresholds. Meanwhile, humans had solved a problem that had existed for millions of years. Claire Rodriguez received an invitation to address the council again. This time, when she entered the crystal chamber, the atmosphere was different. The delegates watched her with respect, even fear. She stood at the center and spoke clearly. "Honored members of the council, I return to you with news. Humanity has survived the threat you chose not to address. We did it ourselves, with courage and creativity and a refusal to accept defeat." Elder Kasdan began to speak, but Claire raised her hand. "I'm not finished. The preservation array has been operating in this galaxy for millions of years. You knew about it. You've watched it erase species after species. And you did nothing because your procedures required more deaths before you would act? The chamber was silent. Some delegates looked ashamed. Others looked defensive, Claire continued. I propose changes to the Council Charter. First, immediate response protocols for extinction-level threats. No waiting for casualty thresholds. If a species faces extinction, the Council responds immediately. Second, equal voting rights for all member species, regardless of age or status. And third, a task force to search for other threats like the array and neutralize them before they can harm anyone. Threshold of 7 spoke. These changes would fundamentally alter how the Council operates. They would require unanimous approval. Then vote, Claire said simply. The vote took place. Some delegates supported Claire's proposals enthusiastically. Others resisted, arguing that humanity had overstepped its bounds by acting unilaterally. The proposals failed, but only by a narrow margin. However, something significant had changed. The Council voted to grant humanity full membership with complete voting rights. They also offered Jake Morrison a position commanding a new Council Defense Initiative, recognizing that humanity's military leadership had proven itself capable. But perhaps most importantly, Hive Dancer approached Claire after the vote. The massive Vraxian spoke quietly. My species was next in the array's path. You didn't just save humanity. You saved us. You saved dozens of civilizations that don't even know they were in danger. We did what was right, Claire replied. Yes, and the galaxy will remember. Some Council members fear humanity. Others admire you, but none will underestimate you again. Back near the array, Danny Foster received word that his crew would be given medals and recognition from Earth's government. They would become heroes, their names known across all human worlds. But Danny wasn't thinking about medals. He was thinking about what they would do with the array now. It couldn't be destroyed. The knowledge stored inside it represented thousands of civilizations, millions of years of history. The solution came from Nathan. The array had been reprogrammed with a new directive. Instead of harvesting civilizations, it would observe them. It would document their achievements and preserve their knowledge, but it would never interfere. It would become a library, a memorial to all the species that had come before. Nathan led the first expedition into the array's databanks. Teams of scientists began the long process of translating and understanding the information stored within. Technologies that could revolutionize human civilization, art from cultures long dead, philosophies that challenged everything humans thought they knew. It would take centuries to catalog everything, but humanity had time now. They had survived their brush with extinction and come out stronger. The ceremony on Earth was grand. Millions watched as Danny Foster and his crew received commendations from the highest levels of government. Admiral Carter gave a speech about courage and sacrifice. Politicians praised humanity's triumph, but the moment that mattered most came later, when the ceremony was over and the crowds had dispersed. Danny stood with his crew on a balcony overlooking Earth, the blue planet turning slowly beneath them. We did it, Amy said softly. We actually did it. We got lucky, Julia replied. So many things could have gone wrong. It wasn't luck, Kevin said. It was determination. We refused to accept that the problem was unsolvable. We kept pushing until we found an answer. Nathan nodded. That's what makes humans special. Not our technology, not our strength. Our refusal to give up. Our insistence that every problem has a solution if you're clever enough to find it. Danny smiled, looking at his crew. These people had risked everything,